You remember the story of Leah Thomas, a male swimmer, trying to compete against women, including Riley Gaines. He also was trying to compete on the same team as my next guest. Her name is Paula Scanlon. And back in July, she testified before Congress. I want to give you a sense of what she said then.
Teammates and I were forced to undress in the presence of Leah, a 6'4" tall biological male, fully intact with male genitalia, 18 times per week. Some girls opted to change in bathroom stalls, and others used the family bathroom to avoid this. When we tried to voice our concerns to the athletic department, we were told that Leah's swimming and being in our locker room was a non-negotiable, and we were offered psychological services to attempt to re-educate us to become comfortable with the idea of undressing in front of a male.
Meanwhile, this is also happening, or has happened this year at Roanoke College. In September, a male athlete attempted to join the women's swim team. That led to quite a bit of, as you would expect, consternation among the girls on the team who were concerned that their team was supposed to be for girls. And yesterday, there was a big conference, a press conference, where some of these girls talked about what it was like having a male join the team.
I question my purpose for swimming, a sport that I've competed in for 15 years now. The reason why I spent all that time in the water became unclear. Why would I even try to swim if I was going to have to race against a biological man?
Where was our right to be considered? Where was our right to be seen as valuable? And most importantly, where was our right to compete fairly?
Our school was prioritizing one individual swimmer over 17 women whose only request was fairness.
Yeah, that sounds wild that would even occur. That press conference was put on by the Independent Women's Forum yesterday. Our next guest is Paula Scanlon. She's a spokeswoman for the Independent Women's Forum and joins us now. Paula, great to have you with us.
Thank you so much for having me on.
So Paula, you've got personal experience with this, and now you are seeing more girls go through the same thing. What are you thinking as you see this?
Yeah, I mean, it's disappointing. Riley was there yesterday, and she told me that she was angry. And that's exactly right. This entire situation is completely preventable. I really thought everyone in the world would wake up after seeing what happened to us with Leah Thomas and in the 2021 to 2022 NCAA D1 season. But yet here we are, it's 2023, and it's happening in the NCAA swimming world at the D3 level. It's just so outrageous that this continues to happen. And additionally, Virginia state legislature had the option to pass legislation to prevent this, and they said no, because they said this is not happening in our state. There's no reason for us to pass this, and now it's happened. So hopefully they'll wake up and do the right thing this time.
Yeah, it's wild. And when you describe your experience that objecting to a male being in the women's locker room and competing against women in a female sport. You said that the college sought to reprogram everybody, that basically they made it seem like you're the problem.
Yeah, exactly. My university came in, sat us all down, and told us we were going to be on the wrong side of history. They said we will never get a job if we speak up against this. They told us there was nothing we could do about it, so we might as well stay quiet. And then they also provided us with psychological services. And they said, here's some resources to make you comfortable with the situation, and said, go see a counselor. And honestly, even myself, granted, it was only a 24-hour period, really, but after that meeting, I said, am I the bad person? Am I wrong? Do I need help? And it made me feel like I was wrong. And I knew immediately, very quickly, that no, they were just fear-mongering us. They were trying to get us to recondition our feelings and emotions to what they wanted us to believe. And these girls at Roanoke went through a very similar experience where the coach said, this is going to happen no matter what you do. And it was insane that these girls went through exactly what I went through.
Yeah, and at Roanoke College, the girls, I think, my guess is that they learned from the experience that you went through, because it sounds like some of the girls got together and they decided to send a letter to the male athlete. They put a letter together explaining their feelings about all of this. He indicated after that he was very upset about this, but he ends up quitting the team. And the coach comes to the girls and says something like, well, you got what you wanted, which is insane to me, because I thought the whole point was for it to be a female sport.
Yeah, exactly. And it didn't change what the girls went through. Their experience was still valid. I mean, the girls actually, this is a detail I didn't know. I've been talking to the girls for a few weeks before this press conference yesterday, but a detail I didn't know was that the coach was told that he could have a one-person team. If all the real girls wanted to quit the team over the situation, the coach would be allowed to have the season. The university gave him the okay to say you could have one trans athlete on your team as a swim team, which is insane, which shows us exactly what we've all been saying this entire time, is that these universities that are allowing this to happen are choosing one individual's happiness over the rest of the team, which is exactly what I went through on my team and exactly what these girls on the Roanoke College swim team went through as well.
Why are coaches going through with this? You know, you'd think somebody who is a coach at the collegiate level is somebody who's probably been steeped in the sport for their whole lives. They were likely athletes themselves. They know the difference between men and women in athletic competition. Why are coaches going along with this?
A lot of them are told that they're going to lose their job. My understanding of this Roanoke College situation, this coach was very young. He'd only been a head coach for a year or two, I think. I'm not sure exactly how long, but he's on the younger side. And the universities tell them that they're not going to have a job, and the universities are going to put in somebody that will. If your coach stands up for you, the university will remove you and put in a coach that will allow this to happen. So ultimately, you know, you're put in a position where you're like, okay, well, if this is going to happen regardless if I stand for it or not, then you feel like you might as well just keep getting your job and continue to get paid because you're afraid of being unemployed or unhireable. I mean, we saw Kim Russell, who works closely with IW now. She was a coach at Oberlin. She was removed from her position for just simply saying that Leah Thomas is not the rightful winner of the NCAA championship in the 500-yard freestyle.
Yeah, wild. So you mentioned a moment ago that, you know, when they were hectoring you and saying you're the bad person here for trying to defend the integrity of women's sports, that for a moment you contemplated, are they right? Am I the bad person? And I wonder to what extent people do come to the conclusion that they are. Meaning, are there many young women who kind of are buying the lie that they're being served now that, yes, of course, a man should compete with you and should take your position in this sport?
I don't think most women, normal, common sense women, believe that, but something that they like to use, and again, this happened in the Roanoke College situation, they were told that this male individual that identified as a woman would commit suicide if he wasn't allowed to compete on the women's team. And they use tactics like that. And I saw this firsthand during the Ivy League season. They did not use that exact language with us on my swim team, but on the Harvard swim team, the girls were sent a letter saying that they would be contributing to a suicide if they spoke up against the inclusion of trans athletes in women's sports. Right.
So it's a form of emotional blackmail that they're wielding against these athletes in order to get them to argue against their own interests?
Exactly. And it's completely insane that they need to come to that. And I think it shows really how losing the whole argument is that the only way you can get people on board is this if you threaten them with suicide and say their mental health is bad. If someone is contemplating suicide or if someone's mentally, not doing well, swimming on a women's swim team is not going to magically fix those problems. They need other help. They need other resources. And I think it's delusional for us to just say that having them join the women's swim team is going to fix all these problems that they so have.
Yes. In other words, they're in desperate need of help, and cheating in your sport is not their therapy. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever.
Yeah, exactly. And it's just really sad. And I know this is a losing issue, and I really don't see much more runway for the other side on this issue. I really do hope we can resolve this in the next couple of years, pass the right legislation in the right places, and we can move on. And myself and Riley can go back to doing other things, and I can contribute to other parts of society versus just talking about defending that men and women are different, which is just so insane because we've all known this for so many years.
Yeah, it is. It's wild. Well, I'm glad that you're so public about it, though, because someone has to be, especially someone who has experienced it firsthand. Do you get the sense that the governing bodies of all of these sports where these debates are now really kicking up, are they siding with women? Is that the trend here?
A lot of organizations are very, very wishy-washy. I would say it's not so much that they're not willing to take a stance. I mean, FINA, for example, the governing body, the highest governing body of swimming, has stated that men can't compete in the Olympics. The problem is that those rules then don't overarch into things like the NCAA and other organizations. So there are people doing the right thing. The problem is that it's not at an all-encompassing level, and it's also opting to not really protect high school students and young girls going through this. So I have seen a lot of people take bold steps in the right direction. 23 U.S. states have now passed legislation that say if you're born male, you do not belong in women's sports. But that's still a minority, right? That's still under 50% of the states. So we still have a long way to go. We're definitely getting in the right direction, though.
It is. I never actually thought this would be a real thing. Like this would be a real issue. If anything, it was considered like a joke that would happen. That guys would. In fact, there have been comedy sketch shows that straight up made jokes of men joining women's sports in order to advance. And here we are living in the real world, and it's actually happening. What is it? Just if I can back up for a moment, Paula, what is it like as a female athlete? I know you talked about the locker room experience and how horrifying that is, but just to be in the water and to be competing against a male. What is that like when you're just stepping up to the edge of the pool and realizing the advantages that one of your competitors already has built in?
Yeah, it's incredibly discouraging. At least for myself, I didn't swim the same events as Thomas, so I can't relate to them in my.
Sure.
I never lost a spot on a relay. Like I had teammates that went through that, and I saw it firsthand, but I didn't personally go through that experience. But in swimming in particular, and especially at the NCAA level, it's a limited roster sport. It's like anything; only so many girls can travel to so many meets.
Right.
And it's a small number. I mean, our travel squad for our championship meet is 18 girls, and there's just under 40 on the team. There's a lot of girls who don't make the cut. And knowing that there was going to be one girl fewer, no matter what happened, that was going to be on the team, even the moment we started the season, that was incredibly discouraging for a lot of girls because they knew that they were fighting for one last spot. And our team was always very contentious about those spots at the end of the year. It got very tense in its nature because we're all very competitive, and it just made it even more uncomfortable and even more upsetting for the girls who didn't make the cut.
Paula, if there are female athletes anywhere in the country right now going through something like this and trying to figure out how to navigate it, is the IWF, Independent Women's Forum, a good group to reach out to? Should they reach out to you?
Yeah, the Independent Women's Forum has been wonderful on this issue. We've really done a lot of work to highlight the voices of female athletes, but there's a lot of other organizations also that were represented yesterday. Icons has also been great. I think they were actually the first to get in touch with these girls at Roanoke. Concerned Women for America were there. Wolf was there, Women's Liberation Front. A lot of organizations are here to support women. Us on IW, we've done a lot of outreach with athletes in particular. So yeah, any girl is going through this. I mean, there are resources now, and these resources weren't around 2 years ago when I faced this. And it's really positive to have that. And especially the girls at Roanoke College were able to reach out to us. And it shows that we are getting our message across and that we are there to support them. And we were there to help them every step of the way through coming out publicly and getting them connected with the right media sources. So it's definitely positive. The sources are there. If any girl going through this wants to reach out, you can also reach out to me personally. I try to check my messages as often as I can. And it's just, we're all in this together. It's really a group fight to fight this off.
Yeah, and it's nice to have good, decent people with their head on their shoulders who can talk to you, and not just people who are telling you you're a bad person for acknowledging reality. It's just wild that you had to even go through that. Paula Scanlon from the Independent Women's Forum, a great college swimmer and a great interview. Thank you so much. Really appreciate your time today.
Thank you so much for having me on.
Be well.